Happy New Year, everybody. Clayton Wellwood here with the BC Libertarian Party. It's January 7th today, and I'm very excited about 2018 for a number of reasons. I want to talk about one today, and that's what I think blockchain technology may bring to the world in terms of increased freedom, disruptions of existing industry that'll open up new opportunities for people. It just looks like a very promising year. I've spent the past few days doing a lot of research in terms of blockchain technologies, cryptocurrencies, that sort of thing, and I'm just amazed to see what's out there. And I highly encourage everybody watching this to do a bit of research. You'll find it very, very exciting, very uplifting in terms of the projects that some of these new companies are coming out with. So I just wanted to talk about a few that I think will be of particular interest to libertarians. One, of course, is the financial freedom and privacy. You know, banks and the traditional banking sector is one of the most, if not the most, regulated sectors of the economy. And we can all feel it every time we walk into, you know, a typical chartered bank. The experience that you have there in terms of, you know, just the amount of rules and even often the level of customer service that you get as a small depositor. It often feels like walking into a government office in some ways. So I'm really excited to see how cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology can bring down the cost of doing financial transactions. That's already happening with Bitcoin. We're seeing very large adoption of Bitcoin, and I think that we're really going to start to see this year and in the following couple of years, more and more people who are selling goods and services start accepting Bitcoin. So that's great news. And also the great thing on the financial side with cryptocurrencies is just the level of privacy that you can get that you don't have with your bank. Much fewer hoops to jump through in terms of, you know, just getting up and running. You know, if you compare that to, you know, if you want to, you know, deal with a brokerage for, you know, trading stocks, or if you want to open up a bank account, you know, it's a lot of forms, a lot of paperwork, going to the branch, doing this, doing that. You know, with cryptocurrencies, it's a much more streamlined process to get going. So that's very exciting because, you know, finance, trade, all these sorts of things, we need this to allow people to flourish, to pursue their economic goals and interests. Another area that I'm really interested in is in the field of healthcare. So healthcare is one of these industries, you know, it's been insulated from innovation for a very, very long time. And now with some of these blockchain entrepreneurs, they're coming up with ways to digitize medical records and to put them on the blockchain, allowing the patients themselves to be the only ones who have access to that. So imagine if you had all of your medical records, you're the only one, you know, unless you sign the right over to somebody else, like your family doctor or relative, you're the only one who can have access to that data. So any doctor you go to, it's not a matter of them, you know, looking in the computer to find out, you know, what history of treatments you've had for this illness or that illness. You've got everything. So you know that every doctor that you see or healthcare practitioner you see is working off of the same information. And they're, you know, they perform services for you. That gets added to your health records, which are on the blockchain, visible to anyone that you provide access to. So I think this will really empower patients. You know, currently we've got a healthcare system that is extremely top-down, and, you know, patients often feel like they are kind of sidelined in decisions about their own healthcare. I mean, this is just completely wrong and completely backwards. And, you know, I'm sure we've all talk to somebody, at least, who've had this experience, if we haven't had the experience ourselves, of, you know, you're pushed through the healthcare system, through a system of treatment. You don't necessarily get choice at every step. You know, it's just like, well, the doctor said, you know, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen. So I think that this technology has great potential, especially in places like Canada that have a single payer system, to open it up, to get conversations going. Once patients feel more empowered with access to their medical data, I think that they will want to have more choice in the healthcare system. And this whole single payer system where you can only go to the government for healthcare, it's going to start to seem more and more antiquated as this technology ramps up. So that's very exciting. Another thing that's really cool is something called social network insurance. So this is the idea that instead of going to a big insurance company for your, let's just say it's your car insurance, you basically collaborate with a group of close friends, relatives, people that you know and you have a high level of trust with. And, maybe the 5 or 10 or 20 of you or whatever bind together to say, okay, we will be the insurance group. So anybody gets into a car accident, the other people in the group will contribute to cover that cost. So the problem that this deals with is fraud, right? Because that's it's rampant within all sorts of insurance systems. And, insurers do the best they can, but they can't catch all of it. I think they don't even catch half of the fraud that they estimate goes on. And it's just not a very efficient system. But if you have that social network built into it, there's the loss of reputation, right? If you were ever to be caught by your friends, trying to defraud them, nobody would do it, right? It's just, it would be preposterous, right? So it leads to much more honesty within the insurance system, and it leads to better behaviors, right? Like if you know that your friends are going to be out of pocket if you get drunk and then crash your car into somebody else or into a telephone pole. Come on, you're not going to want to do that. You wouldn't take that risk. Think about the shame and embarrassment, of having to go hat in hand to your friends and say, listen, I did something really stupid. So it's going to make people better drivers. If you apply this to health insurance, it's going to make people choose healthier lifestyles. They're going to be more focused on, eating right and exercise and all those sorts of things, because it's part of a social network and people want to maintain their good standing within that social network. So that's really cool. Speaking of social networks, we can also look at how blockchain is going to disrupt the online social networks. So right now, it's very dominated by Facebook, Twitter, Google, all these big players, right? There's a lot of new social networks being developed, and they're being developed on different models. Ones that tend to be more decentralized, allow for much more privacy for individuals, and most importantly, they don't necessarily collect your data and sell it to whoever they want to sell it to, which I think is one of the major problems with the big social networks that we have today. So that's really interesting. The idea that people can go online, they can have a robust level of privacy. They know they're not being spied on. They know that their data is not being sold. Maybe they can even sell their own data. That's one of the things that I've seen out there. Okay, your data in terms of what websites you go to and this and that gets all picked up, and so that has some value, but you as the individual would have ownership of that. Then if you want to sell it to some third party, you could do that. Well, that seems fair. It's voluntary, right? So that's pretty cool. Just kind of coming back to the financial stuff, there's going to be there already is, a huge opportunities for investment. There's all of these ICOs, initial coin offerings going on. Really interesting way to put your money somewhere and potentially get a much better return than you've gotten. It's just been miserable, keeping your money in a typical savings account over the last few years. Interest rates are starting to pick up now, so that's good. But I just think about the abysmal returns that I've got, on my savings over the past years, and it's just depressing when I see now what's happening with cryptocurrencies. And it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. I mean, I think where the real potential is being able to invest in some of these firms that aren't just creating currencies, but are creating these new technologies that I've just mentioned, and that will be able to bring new value to the marketplace, new innovative ways of doing things that people will be ready to pay for. I think that's where the real investment potential is. The other interesting thing is about this whole crypto space is that the transaction fees tend to be a lot lower. I mean, you compare that to going to your bank, and you deal with the mutual fund there, and so the mutual fund managers, they take a big percentage of the returns. This is so much more a process of cutting out middlemen. That's one of the great promises of blockchain. So I think that we can expect better returns than we've seen in the traditional financial sector when blockchain investment and technology really gets going. So I'll give you one example just to highlight this, to kind of wrap things up here. So one thing that I've seen is a blockchain technology that would allow people to invest in a fractional way in real estate. Now, this is really fascinating because to kind of get your toehold in the property market, especially in a super expensive place like Vancouver, you need hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And not just 100, you need probably $500,000 these days to get anything in the property market. But the thing that blockchain technology allows is fractional ownership of real estate among other assets, right? Which is really cool. It allows people with a much smaller sum to invest, to get a toehold in the property market. You can share a large real estate asset, like a shopping mall or whatever, with hundreds of other people or dozens of other people, and you can get a good return on that investment. So until now, basically, real estate has been a game for larger players, but now we can set up a system where anybody, even if they've got only a small amount to invest, can get into the real estate game and see the good returns that everybody who has been invested, at least in this market over the last few years, has seen. So that's a really promising thing. So yeah, go out there, check out anything that you can find out about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. It's a really exciting world to be in, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to what 2018 brings, and the BC Libertarian Party will be here to act as a vehicle to talk to people about this, to find out what they're excited about. Maybe we can even run a forum at some point this year where we can get some experts on various aspects of blockchain to give their thoughts and have some discussion about that. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.